and welcome to the Toronto International Film Festival. Day one. My name is Peter Kaplowski, and I am the Midnight Madness programmer, so you don't need to check your watches. It is not midnight, but I am here for a special reason because this movie is a twisted little thriller that I think you all are going to enjoy very much. Now, to begin, I would first like to acknowledge that tonight's events are taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. We are grateful for this opportunity to work in the community. I would also like to remind everyone that this film is eligible for the Gross People's Choice Award, so vote for the film. Afterwards, you can vote at tiff.net/vote. And we would like to thank Creative Artists Agency, William Morris Endeavor, and Sierra Affinity for providing us with this film. And now, without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage the director of this film, the great Neil Jordan.
Hey, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah? It's a big crowd. Wow. I forgot about the Toronto Film Festival. Enormous. Look, I'm not going to take up your time. I'm just going to introduce everybody, okay? First of all, the three great producers I worked with. James Flynn. Lawrence Bender. Come out, Lawrence. Don't be shy. And John Pinotti of SKE Films. And I had a great pleasure of working with three very great actors, women actors, okay? Amazing, yeah. First of all, Micah Monroe. Chloë Grace Moretz. Woo! And we all had the huge privilege of working with Isabelle Huppert. And thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the film.
Stick around for the Q&A. I don't know about you, but the next time I go to Bay subway station, I'm going to be a lot more nervous on that train. Please put your hands together for Neil Jordan, writer and director. And Neil, would you welcome your incredible cast back to the stage?
Okay, Micah Monroe, who played Erica. And Chloë Moretz, who played Frances. And Isabelle Huppert, who played GRETA.
I think they love this. So, Neil, I'd like to start the Q&A off. We'll get, obviously, questions from the audience, but to begin with, you've got an affinity, and this might be a stretch on my part because I'm a Midnight Madness programmer, but you seem to have an affinity for vampires, and I feel like there's something very vampiric about this movie in certain respects. And Isabelle, I would love to hear from you, too, if you agree, or there's just something about this woman who is sucking the life force, in a sense, through of these other younger women. Was that ever crossing your mind when writing the script?
Yeah, well, I didn't write the script. It was written by, I rewrote the script by Ray Wright, yeah, who's a writer who lives in Los Angeles. No, I mean, what attracted me to the movie was it wasn't about vampires, actually, and it wasn't about, like, demons, and it wasn't about, like, you know, monsters who have lived 2,000 years and are buried under cold earth and all that sort of stuff. It was actually about, you know, somebody who is deeply, deeply insane and psychopathic who lives a normal life, you know? And that's really what drew me to the script.
How about the rest of the cast? What drew you to the material and your characters?
What drew me to well, she's a monster. That's enough. That's enough. Yes, true. She's a real monster. Yeah.
And I'm always curious too. An actor friend once told me that they love anytime they're acting, they always feel like they're learning. And Micah and Chloe, to work with Isabelle, what kind of lessons did you feel like maybe you learned working together on this film?
Well, when I read the script, I knew that Isabelle was potentially attached to be GRETA, and I knew it was an opportunity that I couldn't really miss to be able to work with someone who, in my eyes, has always been such an inspiration to me. As a young woman coming up in my career, she taught me to be formidable and not be afraid to take chances and take risks in characters. So the opportunity to work opposite Isabelle was one that I would never have passed up, and yeah, it was a dream come true.
I mean, the same thing. It's an actor that you look up to and respect so much, and in this job, getting the opportunity to work with someone like that is, yeah, a huge honor. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, Neil, when you were speaking about how you were attracted to how the script had sort of grounded elements, one thing I've often heard is that, you know, cell phones have ruined horror movies because people can just call for help. But I really love how texting is terrifying in this movie. And so was that an element that you were played with a bit?
Well, that was in the original script, actually. There were two sequences that were kind of, you know, the taking the phone, photographs, and following around and making somebody frightened with. I mean, what was lovely about it, I thought, was that she gets this old Nokia, and I really miss Nokias. They were so simple, and they made phone calls, you know, and you know, it was very cleverly done by Ray Wright in the original script that I read, and the other one was the other really standout thing that attracted me was that double dream sequence, you know, when you and it seems so familiar to me, you know, you have these kind of dreams and you wake up, did I dream that? And oh my God, no, I really did that, you know, like. Generally alcoholic things, you know, in my case, but I knew that feeling, you know, and at certain points the story did reach these feelings that were quite familiar to me and quite terrifying, you know, and the thought of a handbag, you know, and a widow terrifying me was kind of also very attractive.
Excellent. There's a question right here, yes. Okay, cannot eat gum ever again. Do we have questions? I love questions. It's a great comment that love questions. At the back there, is that a hand that's waving? I can't see. No. Right there, yes.
My first horror movie? Yes, in a way. Mm-hmm. Yes. I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was very funny too, in a way.
I love your scene with Stephen Ray when you're dancing and can we just maybe do an anatomy of the scene? Like how did that sequence work and how it escalated, Neil and Isabelle?
Oh well, you know, I suppose it's a scene where that was not in the original script I read.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
no, nor was the character that Stephen Ray played in the original script. But it was. I mean, the point about a genre like this, and it's kind of the psychological thriller, isn't it? Really, I wouldn't call it quite horror, but it's a matter of seeing how grotesque you can put the situations, how much you can push them towards that level of grotesquerie that is so grotesque it's almost funny, you know? And it was thrilling to work with Isabelle and Stephen because I kind of wanted to do it like a dance, you know, like a ballet gone insane, you know, and chose that piece of Chopin, I think it is. And I mean, Isabelle made it generic to the scene because she wanted the music to hide the banging and pretend the dog was upstairs, and the idea of it being a dance of death and all that sort of stuff became fun. And I can't think of another actor like Stephen Ray either, or like Isabelle, who could have delivered that kind of thing, you know, because you know, it has to be both grotesque and almost grotesquely comical at the same time.
Carnivalesque. Yeah, fantastic. Do we have other questions? Yes, right here. Would you still recommend? Maybe the cast can answer this question. Would you return a bag that you found on the subway?
No.
Most definitely not. No.
Isabelle?
No, certainly not.
Yes, right over there. Yes, you. Would any favorite stalker films that inspired you for the, or you were an influence on the film, perhaps?
Well, actually, stalker movies are generally about a guy, aren't they? You know, some deranged, kind of guy, computer nerd or something like that following. I mean, what I loved about this was there was an absolute logic to everything Greta did, and it was, to me, I found it in a strange way moving, I mean, I know people call her a monster, but I fully believe that if Frances, had not found that handbag and had cooked, her risotto, every Friday, none of this would have happened. It's only when she finds out that this level of awfulness beneath Greta that Greta herself feels the need to become awful. I always felt that she never wanted it to reach that stage. But when it did, she was very capable of executing whatever needed to be executed. To keep her friend, her newfound friend.
Isabelle, do you have any thoughts on your character's motivations in that regard?
Well, I don't think she has any motivation. I mean, there was nothing to save her, actually. And this is precisely what I liked about her, nothing to justify this monstrosity, in her. Yes, it can be. As we were doing the movie, Neil was kept saying, it could be out of loneliness and being a kind of ruthless person. I mean, everything's possible. I mean, it's not the reason why she does what she does, But what's interesting was to exploring this very thin border between normality and abnormality, and how you just cross that border. Well, hopefully very few people do it, I hope so.
One question there. Yes? The question was about filming the box.
I'm going to be honest, I'm super claustrophobic. It was really bad. I remember we had like a full discussion about those scenes prior to where I ran through the elevator sequence, and I didn't even want to think about the box because I knew that would really put me into a bad place. But I will say that Isabelle was an incredible help on that because you had control over the lid. And she would keep her little fingers underneath, and she'd be like, as long as the fingers are there, Chloe, you know that it's okay, you can get out. And I would like get underneath this box, it was shut, and I would just see her little fingers, and I'm like, it's okay. So she really helped me.
She was a lot braver than I was because she really actually went in the box and had the lid over her. I never had, No, I'm even more claustrophobic than you are.
Yeah, you gave up on that one. You were like, no, thank you. I was like, yeah.
Right here.
Question. The house and the set really was a big part of the movie for me. Did you have most of that in your head before you started? Some of it comes out organically.
Questions about the production design specifically regarding the house.
Yeah, the house. No, I mean, we couldn't afford to shoot the whole movie in New York. Part of it was done in Ireland, some of it was done in Toronto, some of it was done in New York. But it's the reality of independent films, really. But the house, to me, it was... there obviously had to be something European about. You mean you're talking about Greta's apartment now? Yeah. To me that was essential. It was like Hansel and Gretel's little cottage in the middle of a European wood, and it had to have that feeling, And I was lucky enough to find this location that had this little courtyard, and one could build a little carriage house, and I mean, to me, it's. I mean, Greta herself could have been dropping little breadcrumbs around Brooklyn, or little Smarties. What do you call them? M&Ms, and Chloe could have been following them. There was that element to the story, which is what attracted me as a director. Because it was an essentially European monster meeting an American innocent.
We have time for one more question. Oh, right there.
I know. I love that dog. I mean, I wanted to get that dog, but You know, it's awful in a movie when animals are killed, isn't it? You're far more upset about the dog than you are about Chloe, aren't you? Yes, I can tell. It's always the way. But I mean, if we had let that dog live, you would have been wondering where the dog is, you know, wouldn't you? Constantly. And psychopaths, people who get involved in killing human beings, they always practice on animals, always, you know. So there is a logic to that.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands
Thank
together
you, everybody.
for GRETA. And remember to vote for the film.